just do a quick perusal through comments. Not too many on my last video, which kind of surprised me, actually, but it might be because Randall Carlson is old news. I listened to this guy talk a lot over last week. He literally has, I don't know how many hundreds of hours of stuff on his YouTube channel. So the next real video I make, like where I think about it, is going to be another. Well, probably. I've got a few in the hopper that I'm working on as I can as far as kind of collecting information and putting it in baskets. But more on the Azores Plateau, which he claims is a microcontinent. There's a quote unquote, very strong case or something like that, that it's a section of sunken continent. There's a lot of really recent work on that. And so far, I have seen nothing that suggests to me that he's actually correct, and a lot that suggests that he is not. So I think that's worth pointing out. So a few comments on the last video about his evidence for the Azores Plateau, which I mostly focused on that one 12,000 year date from the early 1950s on a piece of limestone. Not a good start there, and it was from an abstract and not even really a real paper. It was never published, but he's making that thing carry a lot of water as far as dating when that was above the surface of the ocean, and it is contradicted by basically every other thing that I could find. And even if that data is correct, the internal logic of it doesn't work. So anyway, Mythos Boy writes, note also Randall Carlson's general audience. The tactics are similar to how professional creationists present their arguments, because they already know what they are peddling and will not survive even a hint of peer review. Thanks again for the detail, especially both about states of radiocarbon dating methods in the 1950s and about the still active debate about plate tectonics. Yeah, it's all these guys, him and Graham Hancock and Bright Insight, and pick whoever you want. They're professional cherry pickers. So they have the story they want to tell, they want to create mystery, and they want to pick out things that will resonate with that mysteriousness about the past, and the idea that somebody is keeping information from you and is not telling you the full truth about history, and that they are also going to be suppressed and their friends are being suppressed. Um, it's interesting because in some ways I feel like Randall Carlson does something really similar to what the creationists do, which is that he tries to flatten down time and the events that occur in time into like a flatter pancake. So that's where a lot of this catastrophism comes in. All of these catastrophes must have happened at about the same time. That's what he thinks about the channeled scablands in Washington, which there's evidence that those occurred over many thousands of years, many different floods, but he wants those to be one flood. All this evidence that he gives about the Azores Plateau, there's sunken pieces of limestone and crust out there that date to the Miocene, 5 million years ago, and there's stuff from all over, but you squeeze all that together and it seems like it's making a compelling case where all these things are kind of intersecting, but you start to pick it apart and look at it, and it really doesn't. And creationists want time to be short, because especially the really strict ones only want there to be 6,000 years, so they can't account for all this long time stuff, so they have to flatten it down. And actually, I find that the Mormons do the same thing, the Heartland Mormons, in terms of like just taking all of the pre-contact archaeology of Eastern North America and wanting to fit it into this really narrow window within the Book of Mormon. So it's kind of a really common thing. But the flip side of that with like Carlson and Graham Hancock is they want to quote unquote stretch out some of like the what they think are the special parts of history, prehistory, whatever, and extend those way, way back. So there's um, seems like a case of multiple personalities going on there in a way. But yes, you're right. I think that they do play with time to their advantage in a couple of different ways. Russell Millar 7132, favorite kinds of content on YouTube. Thank you. I haven't neglected doing my homework by watching videos by Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock. I read his book Fingerprints of the Gods, many other pseudo doodles. Grifters get so rich peddling their snake oil to the gullible, and they seem to have forgotten that they really don't know what they're talking about. Randall really seems to delight in the reaction he gets from uneducated hacks like Rogan. Yeah, ain't that the truth? And the pair of geniuses that are cheering him on. Yeah, there's like 4 of them. They sit there. And you know what? It's interesting because sometimes those guys ask good questions and he cannot answer them. He always says, yeah, well, it's something to think about, and there's research out there on that, and we're going to address that later. And then I keep waiting for the later to come. And in some of these cases, the later never does come. That's because they actually ask him a good question that he can't answer because there isn't a good answer to it. So they're actually thinking. I don't know who those guys are, but anyway, I like them more than him in a lot of ways. All right, an architect who thinks shapes have magic powers. Yeah, I haven't even gotten into that stuff yet. He bills himself as a um, master builder. I don't know what that means. Whenever I see somebody bill themselves as the master of something or a world leading expert in something, there's a red flag for you right there. I've been doing archaeology in this part of the world for, see, since the early 1990s. I am a master of nothing. Like I get into things that I'm interested in. I try to solve problems. I try to make a contribution. But to say that you know everything and you're a master of something is such a load of bullshit. Anytime I ever hear anybody say that, they don't give out like ninth degree black belts in archaeology or pseudo archaeology. I guess if they did, Randall and Graham would have them, but who knows? Carlson and Hancock both just dismiss any and all evidence that goes counter to their crackpot theories. Yeah, they don't even just dismiss it. They don't even acknowledge that it exists. They don't look for it. If they do, if it falls and hits them on the top of the head, they just pretend it didn't happen. It's like getting shit on by a bird. And what? Or what? Is there something wrong? Do I have something on my face? When researchers do this, they are not practicing science but religion. Researchers in quotes. I've seen biblical historians be more honest with their evidence. Yep. Archaeological terminology equals blah, blah, blah. Correct. And then Jelly Roll Thunder 3625 wrote commenting. So thank you for that. Um, Still got 16 minutes till that lasagna comes out. So, oh, and you know what? Then I have to remove the plastic film and let it sit in there for another 10 or 15 minutes to brown up the cheese. So I've been getting back into a little bit of pyramid stuff. I've got a talk coming up in Evansville at the end of March, which is kind of what got me thinking about all this stuff again. So when I have the time, patience, ability, I've been listening and trying to get up to speed. Not a lot that's new, but there are a lot of words out there. And I have been actually really gratified to find people making good quality videos addressing some of this stuff. People who have big followings, bigger followings than I will ever have. So thank goodness they're out there. And the fact that they have big followings and their videos are getting a lot of views means that somebody is actually listening. And some of these guys, hopefully with a big enough audience, can do this for a living, can support themselves doing it, just like Randall and Graham support themselves doing whatever the hell it is they call it. I'm not going to be one of those guys who's going to beg you at the beginning of every video to ring the bell and do all that kind of crap, but it does help, believe it or not. A comment on response to reviewer comments. Thank you for your replies, especially one about theosophy and the user who asked it. Quick search led me to a post on Graham Hancock's own forums. Question for Robert Bivall. The body of the text includes, I couldn't avoid the correlation that you gave your lecture in the Theosophical Society in London. Yeah, so there are actually this is from at S90. There are some deep historical connections, um, from theosophy to the Atlantis craze and now to ancient aliens. Like it all kind of comes from the same pot of thinking, and intellectually there are some ancestor descendant relationships in there. The Nazis love this stuff too, and so do lots of occult people. Does that mean that everybody who's interested in it is an occultist, Nazi, white supremacist? No. But it is probably good to know the history of the ideas, which is something I try to teach about in my classes, and to know that it's not all fun and games. A lot of these ideas had serious impact on the world stage. If you look at polygenism and eugenics and things like that, those are all tied into this stuff. In ways that aren't really that funny. And yeah, that's interesting to get into, and we will get into it. It's especially interesting when some of these guys kind of drop the veil a little bit, or maybe it's not even a veil, maybe it's part of the costume, and say why they think it's important to pursue these ideas and talk about them all the time. What is their motivation? And there really are only a few kind of basic lines of motivation that I have found looking at this stuff for decades now. One is people who are pushing a belief system, religious people, and that's your creationism and other stuff, and that's where giants comes into it a lot, and young Earth creationism and flood geology and all that sort of stuff. And it's anti-science in a lot of ways because science, quote unquote, killed God, and so religion wants to kill science and retake that. That's one. Another is people who are doing it strictly for money. They're making and selling a product, and there's money to be made in doing that. And maybe they actually believe some of it. Maybe they believe none of it. They're just con men. Most of them are men. They're con people. Most of them are men, white men. There's nationalistic kind of stuff you get, like with the Bosnian Pyramid, and there's other examples around the world because controlling the narrative about the past is important. And if you have to make things up to do that, sometimes people are not beyond doing that. There's mental illness. A lot of people who are into this stuff are unbalanced individuals. And I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but I also, I think, am perceptive enough to recognize that sometimes some people who really like this stuff and are into conspiracy theories are not kind of using the same box of tools as many of the rest of us. Uh, so when I see somebody who is really pushing this stuff hard, you sometimes wonder which of those baskets they go into. Anyway, that's all I'll say about that right now. Did Blavatsky believe all that stuff? Was she pushing a religious agenda? Was she a little crazy? Was she a con person? Who knows? All right, that's what I've got for now. I'll be eating lasagna in 10 minutes. Stay warm out there, everyone.